The echo of dreams resonates in every corner of the world, a persistent melody that cradles hearts and minds, propelling them beyond the limits of the visible. It is the promise of a future yet unwritten, but one that already pulsates with the force of an unshakable desire. Amidst the whirlwind of New York, where concrete rises in skyscrapers that touch the sky and the rhythm of life is a symphony of honking horns and voices, this melody found its purest and most resilient interpreter in a young man named Khalil. For him, the verdant field was not just a playing space, but a stage where destiny manifested itself, where every pass, every run, every tackle was a verse of his own epic. The NFL was not merely an acronym, but the golden horizon of his existence, a beacon that guided every step, every sacrifice, every drop of sweat shed. Khalil, at just 17 years old, was a walking paradox. His skin, a deep ebony tone, gleamed under the artificial sun of the training fields, contrasting with the determined sparkle in his eyes, which seemed to carry the wisdom of generations. Tall and slender, with long limbs that promised agility and strength, he had not yet fully filled the frame nature had granted him. There was a lightness in his movements, a fluidity that, to less attentive eyes, might be mistaken for fragility. But for those who knew him closely, it was the dance of a body in transition, a temple under construction, awaiting the moment of its full manifestation. His smile, rare in moments of concentration, was a glimpse of a gentle soul, but his posture, even in moments of rest, denoted an unshakable resilience. He was a quarterback, a maestro on the field, capable of reading opposing defenses like an open book, of anticipating plays with an almost supernatural intuition. His passes, precise and powerful, cut through the air with the elegance of a falcon in flight, finding the hands of his receivers with astonishing regularity. However, there was a shadow that hung over his undeniable talent: the coach's distrust. Coach Miller, a middle-aged man with a face marked by years of sun and difficult decisions, had a pragmatic view of American football. His gray hair, always impeccably combed, and his penetrating gaze, which seemed to scrutinize the soul of every player, were the personification of authority. He valued brute force, muscular explosion, the ability to dominate the opponent in physical combat. For him, football was a trench war, and Khalil, with his still developing physique, seemed too delicate a piece for the battlefield. Miller recognized Khalil's game intelligence, his field vision, and the precision of his passes, but his performance in physical tests, which measured speed and power, was an Achilles heel. The coach saw raw potential, yes, but potential that had not yet matured, and in a sport where the margin of error is minimal, he preferred the certainty of immediate physical performance. Therefore, the starting quarterback position was occupied by another, and Khalil, despite his brilliance in tactical training, remained on the bench, a rough diamond awaiting the polishing that only time and opportunity could offer. The coach's distrust was a heavy burden, but Khalil did not allow it to turn into discouragement. Every practice was an opportunity to prove his worth, not just to Miller, but to himself. He knew that his body was still in a process of transformation, that strength and explosiveness would come with time and dedication. His days were an exhausting routine of studies, team practices, and extra gym sessions where he dedicated himself to strengthening every muscle, perfecting every movement. He visualized the field, smelled the freshly cut grass, heard the roar of the crowd, all of which propelled him forward. His parents, unwavering figures of support, were his safe haven, constantly reminding him of the strength that resided in his ancestry, the resilience that ran in his veins. His mother, with her soft hands and tender gaze, always reminded him of the importance of faith and patience, while his father, a man of few words but an imposing presence, taught him about discipline and perseverance. They were the foundation that kept him firm even when frustration threatened to erode his determination. Days dragged on, weeks turned into months, and the season progressed. Khalil watched from the sidelines, every play of the starter, every mistake, every success, absorbing everything like a sponge. He studied opponents, analyzed tactics, mentally prepared for the moment he knew would come. And like a script written by destiny, the moment finally presented itself. In a crucial game, under the pressure of a frenzied crowd and the threat of a defeat that could jeopardize the season, the starting quarterback, in a risky play, suffered a serious injury. The sepulchral silence that fell over the stadium was broken only by the players' cries of pain and the muffled sound of paramedics approaching. Coach Miller, his face contorted in a mixture of worry and despair, looked at the bench. His eyes, once so skeptical, now sought an answer, a solution to the dilemma at hand. And there was Khalil, with his serene but determined gaze, ready to take on the mantle that destiny offered him. Khalil's heart beat at an accelerated rate, but his mind was clear, focused. It was his chance, the moment he had worked for, dreamed of, and sacrificed for. The smell of liniment and sweat in the locker room, the weight of the helmet in his hands, the butterflies in his stomach before entering the field, all mingled in a symphony of emotions that propelled him forward. He knew the path would be arduous, but the flame of his dream burned brighter than ever. Khalil's first entry onto the field was like a breath of fresh air amidst the tension. The roar of the crowd, once a chorus of concern, transformed into a murmur of expectation. He felt the weight of Coach Miller's gaze upon him, a mixture of skepticism and a glimmer of hope. But Khalil was not deterred. His eyes, once focused on the distant horizon of the NFL, now fixed on the present, on the field before him, on the teammates surrounding him. He called the first play with a firm voice, surprising everyone with his calm. The pass, a precise dart, found the hands of his receiver for a significant gain of yards. With each play, Khalil's confidence grew, and with it, that of the team. He read the opposing defense with impressive clarity, made quick and assertive decisions, and his passes, once just a glimpse of his potential, were now the driving force of the offense. The lightness in his movements, once seen as fragility, revealed itself as agility, an ability to dodge and improvise that destabilized opponents. He was not just a quarterback, he was a born leader. His presence on the field inspired his teammates to give their best. With each touchdown, each first down gained, the murmur of the crowd transformed into a cry of euphoria, and Coach Miller's gaze, once so rigid, began to soften, a glimmer of recognition appearing in his eyes. The games followed one another, and Khalil solidified his position as the team's star. His performance was a spectacle of intelligence and skill. He didn't just play, he orchestrated, conducted, elevated the level of everyone around him. The comments about his physical performance, once an obstacle, were now silenced by the evidence of his on-field performance. The body that once was developing now responded with the necessary explosiveness and strength, the result of years of dedication and natural maturation. Coach Miller, who initially saw him as a risky bet, now observed him with growing respect. He saw in Khalil not only a talented player, but a young man with unshakable character, someone who transformed adversity into stepping stones to success. Their conversations, once brief and focused on deficiencies, were now long and strategic, filled with mutual understanding. Miller, a proud man of strong convictions, was not ashamed to admit his error in judgment. He recognized Khalil's game vision, his leadership ability, and above all, his resilience. The trust, once denied, was now fully granted, and with it, the certainty that Khalil was the future of the team. The games followed one another, and Khalil solidified his position as the team's star. His performance was a spectacle of intelligence and skill. He didn't just play, he orchestrated, conducted, elevated the level of everyone around him. The comments about his physical performance, once an obstacle, were now silenced by the evidence of his on-field performance. The body that once was developing now responded with the necessary explosiveness and strength, the result of years of dedication and natural maturation. Coach Miller, who initially saw him as a risky bet, now observed him with growing respect. He saw in Khalil not only a talented player, but a young man with unshakable character, someone who transformed adversity into stepping stones to success. Their conversations, once brief and focused on deficiencies, were now long and strategic, filled with mutual understanding. Miller, a proud man of strong convictions, was not ashamed to admit his error in judgment. He recognized Khalil's game vision, his leadership ability, and above all, his resilience. The trust, once denied, was now fully granted, and with it, the certainty that Khalil was the future of the team. The season culminated in an epic final, a rematch with the opponent who, in the previous season, had stolen the title from Khalil's team. The rival team, the Titans, was a war machine with imposing players, muscles that seemed sculpted from rock, and a history of victories that intimidated. Their quarterback, a veteran with a cannon arm and an aura of invincibility, was the personification of experience and brute force. The stadium, a modern coliseum, seethed with the energy of thousands of fans, a sea of colors and voices that mingled in a deafening chorus. The tension was palpable, the air heavy with the expectation of a confrontation that promised to be legendary. Khalil, however, remained calm. His eyes, before entering the field, met those of Coach Miller, and a silent nod of confidence was exchanged, a mutual recognition of a shared journey. The game was a clash of titans, a duel of strategies and wills. Every yard was fiercely contested, every tackle was a thunderclap echoing through the stadium. The Titans, with their overwhelming force, imposed their rhythm, but Khalil's team, driven by the leadership of their quarterback, responded with agility and intelligence. Khalil moved on the field like an artist. His passes were brushstrokes of genius, his movements a dance between defenders. He absorbed the blows, got up, and continued to fight, his determination unshakable. The scoreboard fluctuated. At every moment, one team seemed to have the advantage, but the resilience of Khalil's team was remarkable. Time was running out, and with it, hope. Seconds remained, the score unfavorable, and Khalil's team had possession of the ball. One last chance, one last breath, one last dream to be pursued. The ball was in Khalil's hands, time stopping in an eternal instant. The roar of the crowd was a distant hum, the shouts of opponents, mere whispers. His eyes scanned the field, searching for a crack, an opportunity. The Titans' defense, an impenetrable wall, advanced on him, their helmets gleaming under the stadium lights. He felt the pressure, the weight of expectation, but amidst the chaos, a supernatural calm enveloped him. He saw it. A minimal crack, a corridor that opened for a thousandth of a second. His receiver, a blur amidst the confusion, ran towards the end zone. It was an impossible pass, a throw that defied logic, physics, gravity itself. But Khalil did not hesitate. With a fluid and powerful movement, he launched the ball. It cut through the air like lightning, a perfect line that seemed to defy the wind, the distance, luck itself. Time stretched, each rotation of the ball an eternity. The receiver, with an acrobatic leap, stretched his fingers, and in an instant of pure magic, the ball nestled in his hands. Touchdown! The score flipped, the clock ran out, the silence was broken by an explosion of sound, a deafening roar that made the stadium tremble. Cries of joy, hugs, tears. They were the university champions. Khalil was lifted onto the shoulders of his teammates, his helmet removed, his face illuminated by a smile that radiated the pure joy of victory. He looked for Coach Miller, who approached with a wide smile and teary eyes. No words were needed. The firm handshake, the look of pride, the certainty that trust had been fully earned. That moment, the culmination of years of sacrifice, of doubts, of perseverance, was the proof that dreams, however distant they may seem, can be achieved when faith and determination unite. Khalil's journey was not just about football. It was about the strength of the human spirit, the ability to overcome obstacles, to transform distrust into fuel, and to prove that true potential lies not only in physical strength, but in the unshakable conviction of the heart.